everybody, and welcome to another episode of Blunders and Bothwellians, the Wounded Witch edition. We are with the Sunday Party, the Adventuring Associates, after they finally decided on a name, and episode 31. And we already have a hashtag that we want to get trending, I doubt it, called hashtag Save the Sexy Zombie. Anyone who missed last week's episode, don't even ask. We are currently in the gnome royal city of the capital of Amley, which is called Regal, the capital city of Regal, run by gnomes, which is currently known by Arissa. Arissa is very close to this family, as we discovered last week. Her family are currently in the royal palace, and they have just met Prince Alcyn Pike, who has arrived back on his giant eagle with his new betrothed, which, to everyone's surprise, mostly Arissa's, turned out to be her brother, Rickard Wintergaze, the betrothed of Prince Alcyn Pike, which, well, we'll find out if it's gone down well with his sister Arissa when we return back to the game now. So, welcome everybody back. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello. Awesome, we still have an indie. Hopefully your internet hands... Why have we got hashtags already? Burn the sexy body, hashtag permadeath, hashtag... Oh my god. Alrighty.
No reason.
Several hundred feet away from the sexy zombie right now, you guys are in the top of the palace, in the royal palace of Regal, under the city, in the big cavern where the gnomes live. Hashtag, yes, good lord. This is going to go on for a while. Hashtag, trending. But the trending topic right now of conversation, after Arissa cried out, "What?" right at the back, I just keep loving repeating that, it was just a beautiful moment, is that Arissa... you guys, to the rest of you guys' knowledge, you have just met Arissa's family, and you have also met the king and queen of Amley, which are the two gnomes, the king and the queen, and their youngest child, which is their daughter Henna, who is the princess who has run up to greet Arissa. And you have also met the crown prince Alcyn Pike and his betrothed, a human male with flowing hair who's quite handsome. They've both jumped off their eagles and come to greet you, and Arissa has shouted. And that is what has occurred, so I will pitch you back in now. So, you guys, you're in the upstairs balcony chambers. Yes.
Someone you know.
Arissa will turn around and just kind of deadpan stare at him.
Hello.
I mean, they're not twins, but they do look alike. There is a distinct family resemblance between Arissa and her brother.
Ah. Brother, is it?
Yes.
Well, congratulations. You must be very happy. Is that a no?
And then turn around to her parents and be like, what is going on?
"Ah!" says your father. "Ah!" And he sort of rubs the bridge of his nose and turns to his wife. "Ah, darling?" "Yes!" And your mother sort of gives you quite a warm smile, which you weren't 100% expecting given how you left. "Yes, well, please, my God, stop sharing gifts that make me laugh. Marriage is what brings us together today." Oh dear. Your mother says, "Well, yes, since you've been on your travels, there have been some very interesting developments. And she sort of looks over at your brother, who sort of grins sheepishly. "Hey, sis. Hi. Good to see you. How are you? Been up to much?"
She's just kind of, like, her brain's broken.
Well, your daughter seems to be having an embolism, so
Ah, yes. So, and her mother sort of turns hurriedly to the rest of you. Ah, you must be her friends. Welcome. You have caught us on quite an exciting day. Let us fetch refreshments, perhaps, and retire to the lounge. Yes.
well, that just sounds lovely.
She gives you an appraising look of someone who is used to dealing with both servants and people who are of very noble birth, and she can tell immediately how sarcastic you may or may not be being.
Did they roll at all on what's his name? The meeting
Insight.
intention. Insight. Did they roll on insight to tell if they were being sucked?
I am being so genuine and sincere right now. It actually hurts with how sincere I am being.
Oh, it's too easy a DC to have to roll.
See, part of this is the player, but part of it is Belgarath too.
Yeah, the DC on this insight into sarcasm is like -20. It's not hard. Basically, unless they roll a nat 1, they're fine.
The little princess Henna does turn to you, Belgrath, and say, No. The wine really is very good. I'm only allowed little bits in a sippy cup, but it is very nice. She has not cottoned on to the sarcasm.
Wine does sound good, actually.
See?
Some people are bad at it.
I told ya! And she will sort of skip ahead of you and make motions, especially to you, Belgrath, like, come on! And she will lead you all down the corridor to the lounge. The grown-ups, as in the older grown-ups...
Just a quick pause, Rosie. Do I still have Caspian the little dragon?
Yes, of course you do. He's on your shoulder, unless you would like him to be anywhere else.
I would like to request that he go and perch on the child's head, because I think it would be hilarious to see what happens as a result of that.
Okay. So you're going to ask him to go and sit on the child's head?
Yes.
Okay. She's not going to take my hoard, is she?
I don't think so, no. And if she tries, If she tries, I will come and get you back.
You promise?
I promise.
Okay. And he flaps his little wings, and his blue rucksack sort of bobbles about as he goes, fum, fum, fum. And he circles her head once so she can see him coming, and she looks up like, oh, he's so cute! Oh my god, he's so cute! And he lands on her head.
Oh.
None of you had earphones in just there, did you?
Yes, I did.
You can all blame Belgarath.
Excuse the hell out of you.
So it was a literal, oh my god, he's so fluffy moment. Aw, that's so cute. Look at the little gift of the little dragon. He's so cute. Look at the little gift of the little dragon. So yeah, Caspian lands on her head and she sort of stops mid-skip and starts clapping. Oh my god, he's so cute! And you now have this little gnome princess with a dragon sort of sitting with his front paws crossed over the small tiara she's wearing on her head, and he's got like his front paws crossed over the front of it, and he's like looking down at her over her eyebrows, and she's looking up at him going, are you friends with Arissa? And he looks back at you, Arissa, and then he looks back at her and says, I think so. And she just keeps clapping and like skipping down the corridor, being very careful not to move her head too much as she skips ahead of you guys. And Caspian looks back at you, Belgarath, and gives you a sort of, is this okay? expression.
I'm just kind of shrugging away. It's just like, yeah, go and have some fun.
His tail wags, and he sort of crosses his wings and relaxes on her head a little bit as she skips down the corridor. The grown-ups, the king and queen, and Arissa, your mum and dad, are right at the back having a very quiet discussion between themselves, and the prince and his betrothed are walking. They sort of go from being hand in hand to being not, and then decide, they sort of look around and decide maybe not, and so they just walk, having dropped hands, and then you go down a long sweeping corridor in the rock, and you get to a very large lounge, beautifully decorated, lots of gold and silver, and lots of very light blue as well, which is on Amelie's flag, which is hanging above the palace, and there's also another one that is hung up on the wall in this room as well. And you guys are motioned to sit. There are many chairs, sofas, there's a large fire in a fireplace as well, and eventually drinks are brought for you all. You can share. They bring sort of proper gnomish hospitality. They bring lots of fancy bottles that you can choose from, and they bring loads of glasses and goblets and things you can pour as well. Arissa, you notice that your brother and the prince both pour themselves very, very large glasses of wine and drink them very quickly. Your mother pours herself a very, 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 very small shot into a wine glass, but it is of a very, very, very strong alcohol. Your father doesn't partake for the moment and just sort of sits in an armchair with his fingers crossed. He doesn't look angry, he looks sort of like dads do when they're trying to decide what to do. He's got that expression at the moment, and the king and queen sit next to each other in two very ornate armchairs by the fire, and they each take a goblet and they look around the room. You are motioned by the queen. The queen gnome motions for you all to come and sit down. Henna sits very carefully on the floor next to the fire, and she gets a cup of some sort of juice and she holds it up so that Caspian can take a sip, and you hear very tiny slurping as he tastes whatever she's got in her glass. So you can all have alcoholic or non-alcoholic beverages and have a seat.
Okay, well, I'm going to
take a very large glass of mead.
Noted.
I'm going to carry on basically being this weird uncle who's turned up for this little kid because I'm kind of enjoying this. So I'm going to start pouring a glass of wine, and then I'm going to use prestidigitation to kind of keep the bottle pouring the wine into the glass while I take my hand away.
Okay. Okay, so you're going to pour the wine and let go and let it keep it.
Yeah, and I'm going
pouring.
to use prestidigitation to keep the bottle and the cup just kind of floating there as the cup fills.
Okay. Henna is suitably impressed by this, and she's seen magic before, but it is still an entertaining trick for her. She's not old, not old enough yet to be too above being entertained by such things. And see my dice. There they are. I've got them. And yeah, she sort of looks up and she starts giggling, and then she feels Caspian slip on her forehead a little bit, so she puts her hand up to catch him, and she puts him in her hands and she puts him on her lap, and then she sits there sort of rocking a little bit and sort of giggling at you. You're silly.
I kind of smile at the kid, and then I let the wine bottle just gently go down onto the floor.
Indy's going to smirk, and then
I pick up the glass and take a swig.
Okay.
Indy's going to smirk and then use thaumaturgy to turn the fireplace pink.
Arissa just kind of drifts off to an armchair that she would have sat in when she used to visit.
Sorry. Yeah.
No, it's okay.
Cass is suspiciously sniffing at the drinks and trying to look for something that fits more a dragonborn than all these measly squishlings.
There is a very, very, very long sofa you could sit upon if you like. It would fit you on one half of it. You can sort of squish yourself in. Very large pillows. Not all the furniture is built for gnome size. It appears, obviously, they entertain people here of all shapes and sizes. And this sofa would probably be your best bet. It's not entirely comfortable, but it's the biggest piece of furniture in the room. And the little princess does giggle and point at the fireplace. Oh, my favourite! As you change it to pink, Indy. So a few moments go by. You all settle in, have a sip of your drink.
Arissa looks down at her glass of mead, half expecting someone to yell at her not to drink it, and then downs the entire glass.
Ah, yeah. Arissa's having odd flashbacks. The king and queen seem fine, Arissa, but unsure what to say. The prince is looking from you to your parents, to his parents, and then to his betrothed. And your brother is very fixedly staring at the ceiling, as if counting every ceiling tile in excruciating detail. So, says your mother into the dead silence. How have your travels been, Arissa, darling? Tell us where you've been, what you have been up to.
Arissa just kind of looks at her and she's like, Mum, really? Really, this is the topic you choose right now? How long has this been going on for?
Your mother goes... Say that again?
She's just kind of baffled and shocked and has just had a lot of mead.
I feel like I need a bit of backstory here. What's so shocking?
Yes, you guys wouldn't... as far as you guys are aware, Arissa is just acting a little odd, and you're aware these are her parents. This is the prince. This is her brother, has been established. The prince is marrying her brother. And she doesn't seem okay with it. Here's the context you guys have got to go on at the moment.
So, how long has what been going on? Marriage? The concept of royalty? What's the bit that's hanging you up here?
She just kind of points at Alcin and Rickard and is like, them! How long have they been going on for?
Now, Arissa, at this point, I would ask to double check, because my notes on you, in the least creepy way possible, are about 2 meters out of my reach. How long has it been since you left home?
I don't know.
For the sake of argument, shall we say?
Well, however long the party has been travelling for, and probably a few extra months.
All right.
To give her time to go to.
Then
Risha.
we will say 2 years. I knew it was under 5. All right. We'll say 2 for the sake of argument, and it shall now be canon.
Okay. It must be so.
And now it is so. Okay. So, with that knowledge in mind, the prince says, I mean, how long's it been going on? That's, interesting question. I mean, when does anything begin, really? How could one possibly put that into words?
When did your eyes meet across the room? When did you go strolling together? When did he gaze longingly into your eyes?
I was going to put in my notes, Belgarath sarcasm on fire. Okay. Your mother does start to chip in a little bit, Arissa. Okay. Well, it doesn't really... it came as a surprise to us, of course, but... when two people get to know one another as they have... And then your brother Rickard, still staring fixedly at the ceiling, says... 2 years, 3 months, 1 week, 3 days.
All of these stupid squishling mating rituals are just so useless. Could we do something more interesting, like get back to our mission?
You hush your scaly mouth. I'm finally interested in something here.
Arissa's staring at Alison, kind of looking like there's a revelation in her head.
Arissa looks like she's doing some maths.
It's a bit
Oh
confusing.
god, Arissa's doing maths. That could take weeks.
It'll take a few minutes.
Arissa just closed the business for a couple of minutes, so just everyone else have a conversation while she's doing a So you've lost Arissa for about, in your experience, team, I would say you've got a good minute and a half. So
in the meanwhile, we can argue about why it's stupid to be observing these mating rituals or not.
Indy's just going to smirk slightly and go, there's always a purpose for everything. And then she'll look across at the prince and Arissa's brother and go, you don't happen to have a celebrant sorted already, have you?
Explain? Says the prince, looking rather confused at the entire situation.
Well, I am a wandering cleric.
Oh! I see. Oh, well. I mean, how long are you staying? If you're in town, I mean, sure, why the hell not?
Well, I'm travelling with your... And then he's going to gesture across to Arissa.
You're with your... friend?
Future sister-in-law.
Yeah. We'll go with future sister-in-law on that one. So I guess it's as long as we're all in town.
Oh, I do love a wedding.
Drinks all around!
Done the maths and gone, he's who you meant.
Your brother, still staring fixedly at the ceiling. Yep.
Okay, someone's going to need to give me some backstory here. Who meant what to who?
So she's kind of shouted that at Alison.
Who's gone absolutely brick red and is staring at the ceiling as if wishing he could disappear into the floor and counting the ceiling tiles 1,267, 1,268, 1,269.
Arissa?
She's kind of like going from baffled to mad.
Belgrath's kind of cottoning on and raising his eyebrow, and he's just like, so that's the way the wind was.
So
And then you can...
when we went to the place and the thing, and you said that there was already someone, I thought it was a gnomish girl, a gnomish noble, but no, it was my brother, and you didn't have the heart to tell me.
Both eyebrows up now.
This is aimed at the prince, I assume, Arissa.
Yeah.
Prince Alcin, the handsome gnome, to his credit, does look at you, Arissa, and he does, after blinking a couple of times, well, I mean,
Well?
yes.
The brother and the sister, well played.
I mean, he looks at you, Belgrath, very quickly. It definitely wasn't like that.
What do you mean?
Well, now I'm disappointed.
You're a very charming, very sweet girl, Arissa, and I've known you forever, but I wasn't sure what it meant, how I was feeling, and I mean, there is no good way to say to a girl who likes you, oh, by the way, I like your brother, you know?
To be fair, I can see how that might come off a bit awkward.
And I tried to reason with everyone about the whole, you know, kidnapping debacle, but it...
Kidnapping.
You
I'm
have
sorry,
to admit,
what?
it didn't
Very
look
embarrassed.
good. You have to admit, Rissa, it didn't look good, and...
Well, we're about to get away, okay?
Okay, kidnapping. What happened?
I didn't kidnap anyone.
No, to
It
be
sort of
fair,
sounds like you did.
to be fair, and I want this on record once again, father, mother, I explained this at the time, and I say it again, I was not kidnapped, nor was I hoodwinked, nor was I put under some sort of illusionary spell, or bardic magic, and nor did she poison me.
Well, that you are aware of.
Hey, don't you stop.
It would have worn off by now, I assume.
Well, it might have started different things, like, you know, you might have just grown close to them because there was this spell to begin with.
Oh, look who's taking an interest now.
Well, I'm just suggesting
You got babies.
alternatives.
Yes. I'm pretty sure I could do magic when I was a baby.
Well, I'm just saying
Wait,
it's a
you would?
possibility.
Look, the point is, I didn't kidnap anyone. It was a romantic getaway.
Misunderstanding.
That nobody knew about, apart from me.
Sort of sounds like a kidnapping.
No, it wasn't. That's not the point.
No, indeed, says the prince. It is besides the point. And he sort of puts his hand on Rickard's hand and sort of takes it.
Arissa just kind of stares at it.
The fingers interlock, and your brother, still maroon in the face, sort of stops looking at the ceiling and looks down at the two hands now for something to look at. And just sort of nods quietly. And Alcyn says, It came about so rapidly, and it was unexpected and wonderful, and of all people I wanted to share it with you, Rissa, but things got so complicated, and there were so many misunderstandings, and I didn't want to lead you on, and I didn't know
Why
how.
did you? I spent years loving you. And you just let me.
Well, I mean, I cared for you too, Riss. Just I didn't know how. I assumed I felt the same way because that's what I thought love was, but then I got closer with Ricky, and well, I realized I was wrong, and I couldn't be more sorry for that. Like I said, how do you tell someone that you fell for their brother? It it's never gonna. And I didn't know how Mumsy and Dad were gonna feel about it, so there was a lot of questions in my head all at once, and I didn't handle things right, and I'm sorry. And I'm sorry you had to leave, but Belgarath, please, if you're gonna say crazy stuff, read it out at least.
She's gonna turn to her brother now and just be like, "And what's your excuse?"
Well,
you were so close growing up, and you couldn't tell me that you
Sorry.
found someone. Oh, I thought
Was that an in or out of character yawn there?
I thought that
both. It's canon, it's both.
except for the only reason I know it wasn't Kes is because she apologized.
The apology was out of character. The yawn was. I think Cass would be yawning as well.
Yeah, you and Kumi both. The apology is out of character.
Yeah.
What a bitch.
Either way, I love it.
Your brother is still sort of looking at their two hands together, and the pink in his cheeks is fading from sort of bright crimson maroon down to a sort of dull pink very slowly, and he's sort of recomposing himself. Very handsome man, blondie hair similar to
know what
Arissa's.
love is. I want you to show me.
Yes, there are flashbacks going on in his head with just that montage playing. Well, it's like you said, it all happened strange and fast, and I'd grown up with you telling me all these wonderful things about him, and I guess I didn't realize that when I was egging you on for stories and agreeing with you and talking gossip, and I mean, you remember all those times I'd come to your room late at night and we'd sit together on the bed and I'd ask you to talk about boys with me, and I thought it was all for you because I was being a supportive brother, but I
always knew you were gay. Like, I don't care about that.
Well, no one told me.
She kind of laughs a little bit. I'm glad you figured it out. But why couldn't you tell me that it was with Alison?
Well, you think there's no easy way to tell the girl who likes you that you're into her brother. How do you tell your sister that you're into the boy she likes?
She kind of sighs and goes and gets another big old glass of mead.
I mean, I didn't want to not tell you. It wasn't a lie and a secret. It was just the best.
Yes, I'm going to take you out of the room.
Well, I can't help it. It's entirely boring to be listening to this squishling talk.
Look, you,
It's
drag
not
them
really-
back, go for a walk.
If they want to make a nest together, they just make a nest together. Who cares? And Kest leaves.
Alright, Kaz. You can sort of, if you want to walk around a bit, there's a section of sort of balcony
Yeah.
on this level that you can sort of take a walk around. It'll sort of take you all the way in a big semicircle around the outside of the palace and then back on itself again. So you can sort of see out over the underground city and you can see all the hubbub
Yeah.
of people underneath you, and you know, you can
Yeah.
probably still catch bits of what's happening in the room if you listen, but if you walk far enough you won't necessarily be able to hear anything you don't want to hear.
No. She's not trying to listen to
Okay.
conversation. She's like, oh no, squishlings doing things I don't care about.
Alright, so Cass, you go for a wander. Meanwhile, Indy is eating imaginary popcorn by the sound of it.
Indy is enjoying the show.
Well, she is a bard.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I didn't think like Cass could stay any longer. She was like,
no, that's fine.
There was no one to kill and no souls to eat.
Exactly. Like, what is that for a Cass to do? Poor Cass.
Yeah.
So, Rickard,
I don't know, maybe she could find some children playing a game, ruin their day or something, I don't know.
Good ideas. Thank you.
Tell them Santa Claus isn't real, ruin their day.
Good ideas. Thank you, everyone.
If you want to donate to Cass's Ideas Bucket, you can donate on our Patreon. £1 gets you one sinful act for the day. So, Rickard, yeah.
This will be good. We'll know exactly how to track Kess down after this Arissa scene. We'll just follow the trail of crying children.
Yeah, exactly. Destroyed path in her wake. It'll be marvellous. Yeah, Rickard still isn't quite looking at you, and sort of his mumbles sort of fade away and trail off. And you hear sort of from your father, Arissa, and your mother just sipping on her alcoholic beverage.
She's sipping a shot drink.
Yeah, she's sipping one of the strongest alcoholic substances that you know. You pour it as a shot and you sip on it.
I love my mum. She's a badass.
We says your mother at this point, we were in the process of sending out the invitations. And you hear, like, the sort of tra-la-la trying to make light conversation in her voice.
Arissa's just staring at her mum as she pours her mead. Just like,
we were.
I was going to find out for an invitation.
We were going to send an invite to you, extending a reprieve. Arissa, you given light of certain situations, you were best to have left, but you well, that is no longer necessary. And no, of course we weren't going to tell you through an invitation. We were going to invite you back and tell you properly ourselves, of course. But well, now you're here now, so well, there goes that plan. But nonetheless, so we're happy to have you home, Arissa. We have missed you greatly.
She kind of shuffles her feet and goes, I've missed you too.
In his usual way, your father says, "Speak up, dear, I didn't catch that."
Arissa kind of smiles a little bit and goes, I've missed you too.
Better. Well, now this wretched business is out the way, well, you can jolly well get your things and unpack in your room or something. Have you got much with you?
I've been travelling light. And she kind of looks at Alison and Rickard and just kind of mouths at them, this isn't over.
Oh, excellent. Don't want to be carrying around too much stuff you don't have need for. Excellent. Right, well, your room's exactly where you left it, except, well, it's, it's obviously back at our house. We do have quarters here as well. Should you wish to move into them, you could stay in the palace, or you can stay with us in our house. We seem to flit between the two, depending on, well, whether the beds keep changing.
At the mention of staying in the palace, she kind of looks awkwardly at the king and queen, just kind of like,
the Queen actually smiles at you, and she gives you quite a. It's a sweet smile, but it's not a smile of disdain or anything. This is Queen Ash, and she does smile at you, Arissa, and she sort of shakes her head softly and says, No. Any funny business is officially behind us. We are happy to welcome you back into the fold. All harm forgiven, all misunderstandings laid aside, and
Can I roll an insight check?
yeah.
Not that it's going to probably how much I have a -1.
In total.
No, as an addition. So I rolled an 8.
Okay. Okay. As far as you can tell, this is as genuine as you've seen her be. She seems a little awkward, perhaps given the sudden abruptness of the situation and how obviously you've responded, but as far as you can tell, she's telling the truth.
I don't think I'm moving back just yet.
Oh, that's fine, of course, dear. You can stay at your parents' house. That is not a problem. That is absolutely fine. However you wish to be comfortable, not a problem. We welcome you, and no harm, no foul. And of course, you are going to be officially one of the family too. So, I mean, we've always been ridiculously close, but now we're going to be related in marriage. Of course, there is no ill feeling, my dear, and you are perfectly welcome. We are happy to have you back.
Arissa kind of looks baffled again about how Queen Ash is being so kind of cool about everything. She's just like, okay.
The king just sort of nods. You'd know him, Arissa, as a man of few words. He's very good with the people. He's a very well-liked king, but his wife will talk and can hold many a conversation. He is more of a simple gnome of fewer words. But he does nod. He does nod at all of this. So, your mother sort of jumps again. So, where would you all like to stay? I assume you'd all like to stay for a little while. You've probably had some interesting journeys, and the voyage here can be quite a tricky one.
We didn't take a conventional route.
Oh, really? Well, that's fascinating. How did you arrive here?
Well...
You have 6 gnome eyes, like 6 pairs of gnome eyes just looking interestedly at you now, and 1 pair of gnome eyes that's Henna on the floor, who is listening but also playing with Caspian.
Indy's also going to be watching Arissa.
Well, we kind of came by some portals through the demonic realm. She just kind of trails off, looking really awkward, and takes a big old sip of her mead.
At the word portal, the king looks very interested and sort of impressed. The queen is nodding with interest. Your parents look intrigued. At the notion of a demonic portal, your brother does a spit take, and the rest of the room sort of do a variation of audible gasps and, oh!
Yeah. Indy's just giggling.
Yep. She is thoroughly enjoying this car crash.
Did anyone sort of pauses mid-sentence? Did you? And Alcyn jumps in. Demonic teleportation.
I mean, kinda, I guess.
Fascinating, says the king. Fascinating. And Alcyn is sort of putting it. How? Where? So. So you have demonic powers now?
Not as far as I know. I've not really tested that out ever. But no. We had a guide.
A guide?
Yep.
A guide who gave you portals?
Well, he kind of took us. Well, we was sent to the demonic realm with our guide, and then he told us about the portals that were in the demonic realm, and we had to he got taken away, and we had to guess which one. There's a lot more to it, but and story is we're here.
So you've been hanging out with demons?
I mean, I wouldn't say hanging out. Kind of stares at the ceiling, just like her brother.
Does she still have that list she got given?
List?
Yes, the list of all the different deeds that a certain demon would do.
I don't remember this list. When did this happen?
When we first entered.
She probably has it somewhere.
It was something like a shopping list of all the different acts that a certain demon would do for her.
She adjusts her bosom surreptitiously. Nothing to see here. She doesn't have a particular list kind of stuffed between her boobs.
Just for anyone who may have forgotten, when he was particularly beguiled by a very well done roll of Arissa's, the demon guide Brickens, who was leading you all, wrote out a list of all the things he would do for her and handed it to Arissa, which she has kept, apparently in her cleavage.
Where else does a girl keep a list like that?
that is true. Where else does one keep a list of all the things a demon would do for you? What a good little demon boy. The king actually joins at this point. So, on your travels, you encountered a demon who led you through his own realm. Fascinating stuff. Fascinating.
Rissa just kind of nods. Yeah. I mean, we were kind of busy, so we didn't really get to sightsee. That would have been cool.
Fascinating stuff. Fascinating. And how did you get the demon creature to do your bidding? They are notorious for not doing that.
Well, technically he wasn't doing our bidding. He made a deal with someone else. I don't know. I don't know what for. I wasn't really listening.
I see. Well, dealing with demons can be a bit of a trouble, you know. Well done for not getting yourself caught in on it. Can be trouble. And he sort of drifts off into his own sea of thought for a moment. And Alcem will jump back in, and he will say, So tell me more of this. Where did you go? What did you see? I mean, the Underrealm itself. Terrifying, no?
I mean, it was kind
It was
of
alright.
dreary.
Also, Arissa, Indy's hand is now on your boob.
What?
Just mid conversation, Indy's hand has just shot out and is now on your cleavage.
Can I just bat her hand away? Indeed, no.
Indy, do a dexterity check.
If I had a spray bottle.
Well,
Down go.
How bad was that?
where's my water conjuration spell?
Yeah, that's only on the 8 on the dex.
An 8.
Yep.
Okay. Indy fumbles to try and pull the piece of paper out of your cleavage, Arissa. Doesn't manage to keep a hold of it, and it flutters to the floor and sort of flies open, like the scroll flies open, and it sort of rolls and lands sort of spreading from your foot past your mother, past your father, past the rest of the party, all the way across the room.
Jesus Christ, how big is Arissa's cleavage?
It was a very tightly rolled scroll, okay? And there was a lot of things on it.
Well, it's the paper that's big, not the cleavage.
Yes, the paper is huge and demonic. Yeah, similar to the gif of Crowley that we can see at the moment.
I mean, the cleavage is probably big as well, but the paper is...
Yes, 100%. But, you know,
Well,
those...
my point was it would need to be able to conceal such an enormous list.
Those double E's can hold a great deal of things, including like a pencil case. But this list, those of you who remember which in character you would, it is this scroll that Brookends handed to Arissa. It's got the room has a faint smell of sulphur to it now, and there's like the dark parchment has red writing on it, and at the bottom it's signed with Brookends' name and a little kiss at the bottom, and a sort of a crude demonic drawing of a winky face.
Aww.
Can I light it on fire quickly?
With what?
Prestidigitation.
Sure. Arissa, you do prestidigitation. Can you do me a dexterity check to do your prestidigitation? Yeah. Just a straight dexterity to see how quickly you can do it, because there is... You're my witness to that, by the way. I just got a witness to witness my dice roll. Arissa, what did you get? 17. Very, very good. As they say in show business, quick, but not quick enough.
Arissa, no, I don't want Heather to see it.
So, 2 things happen. 3 things. 3 things happen. 1, your mother and your father managed to read a good chunk of the list. They're not 100% sure what it is, but there's a lot of nefarious things written on there, and a lot of very,
not
very
nefarious things.
Very, very sexual offers, and also very, very non-sexual offers in the realms of, oh, what I would do for you.
Ooh.
And it
Why
involves
have you made an impression?
lots of dark, nefarious deeds, and lots of different connotations. They range from various different types of murder, all the way up to any of the sins. Pick a sin, elaborate on it as much as you possibly can. It's on the list. So your parents see this, and you hear a sort of intake of breath from your mother and a sort of choke from your father. The Queen reads a good chunk of this, and so does the King. The King looks bemused. The Queen looks confused and moves a hand and darts and shouts, "Henna, look away!" Alcin, the Prince Alcin, it's his turn to do a spit take of his drink. And he is doing a spit take, and he has looked down the list, but he has looked at the name on the bottom, and he has choked out on his drink. Bookends.
Arissa's gonna look at him and be like, "What?"
And Alcin has gone a little crimson in the face.
How do you know Bookends? At this point, she's like grabbing the scroll and stuffing it back into her cleavage.
You did manage to set it on fire, just not before everyone managed to get a good look at it. So if you would like, you can set the whole thing on fire and it can be gone forever.
I'm kind of curious to find out whether or not this is a binding contract since he signed his name to it.
Okay. So are you going to save it?
Yeah, because I can put out the fire. I think it was just one of those, I don't want Henna to see it.
Okay.
Henna's been like, my other choice was to cast blindness. Blind the child.
As she tries to stuff it away, Indy's going to cast mending on it while she's at it.
Okay, there we go. So she just kind of lights a bit of it and then just starts stuffing it back in her boobs. While it's still on fire, because that's Arissa.
Out! Taps it out on her boobs. Alright, Indy, you cast mending. And Alcin has gone a very, 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 very deep shade of pink. Your brother is now looking at him. And it's your brother's turn, and the rest of you recognise that look that you've seen so often in Arissa of somebody who's putting 2 and 2 together and is just about to make 3.5. And you can sort of see a look, and over the next couple of moments, oh, from your brother, Arissa, towards Alcin. Is this what you... Yes! Okay, yep, yes. No need to talk about it anymore.
Yes, there is.
Alcin just sort of shushes your brother Rickon and says, yep, yes, that. Yes. Okay? And Alcin has now got a sort of a big Arissa grin on his face. Oh! Okay. Interesting. Yes, okay. We'll just... Shh. Alright? He's getting some very strange looks from his parents. And
I'm getting a very strange look from Arissa.
Alcin looks up at you, Arissa, immediately looks away, and then looks up at the ceiling. Really nice ceiling tiles we've got here. Yes, really nice. I wonder how many there are. Let's try, shall we? 1, 2, 3. Oh, that one's a bit cracked. We could dust that one. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Can I cast prestidigitation to just smack him around the head?
Yes. What did you want to smack him with?
Just, I think it's just a sensory effect.
Okay.
So it just has a little knocking on the head. It's harmless, so.
Okay.
Mostly harmless.
She'll give you one as well.
Welcome back, Belgraph. You have missed. Oh Lord.
Alison knows Brickens.
Alison knows Brickens. Arissa had the scroll of all the things that Brickens would offer to do for her when she did her very persuasive check on him. She had that in her boobs, and Indy remembered this, tried to take it, ended up just grabbing her boobs. The scroll ended up getting knocked onto the floor where it unravelled and everybody saw it. All of the parents have sort of looked at all these nefarious acts and gone, good lord! They've all tried to make sure Henna, the little princess, doesn't read it, and Alcyn recognised the name Brickens, and the brother Rickard has turned to him and gone, oh! As if in some understanding.
I see.
Alcyn stares very fixedly at the ceiling and says, well, seeing as everyone's going to just talk about it anyway, Brickens, was my, first.
Oh, this is beautiful.
When?
I was a young lad, probably 16, 17.
Did he tell you that he could get you a job in modelling?
No. Yeah.
I mean, you could, but you know.
Thank you. I was on a hunting trip and had taken a break to look over some scenery, and this person appeared on the horizon and said he was bored and would I like to play a game, and we talked and he was charming, and one thing led to another, and I came home a changed man and never saw him again. I'm loving these gifs, by the way. I think my favourite is Moss eating popcorn. Go on.
Indy's pretty much just resumed her position and is enjoying the show.
I think Indy needs to get a pouch of holding that has a permanent popcorn spell on it now. I love that gif is of Britney Spears because she looks just like Arissa in my head. So, yes, that was a thing. So, there it is. So, we can all stop talking about it.
Can I roll to see how well Arissa is imagining it?
Sure. Do a intelligence check with advantage because you know this man very well and would probably be able to imagine it. At least his end.
On a natural 20, Arissa has to excuse herself for a good 20 minutes.
Not natural 20.
Arissa, you now have a very, very, very... Arissa, you have two things going on in your head. First, you start imagining all those times you've ever imagined Prince Alcyn. You've seen him emerging from the lake, Mr. Darcy style, wearing, shirtless. And to be fair, they're gnomes. At some point, you've probably seen him naked. You have also grown up with your brother. You probably know what he looks like. You know both of them very, very well. Both of them have told you various different things about what they like. You're not having a hard time piecing together them two. You also have spent a lot of time around Brickens and can definitely imagine him in a scenario. Your mind has stopped reeling your brother and the prince together and has now sort of rubbed out your brother and is now almost without your permission inserting Brickens.
It did what with my brother?
Your mind is sort of rubbing out the image of your brother with the prince and is now inserting Brickens into that. And yeah, it's definitely not hard to imagine. You are also, somewhere in the back of your head, getting random images of a similar graphic nature of a tiefling paladin and a very dark and angry looking female who looks like she might be magical. And there's some part of you that thinks that you've seen this before, like on some sort of screen somewhere. You can't quite picture it properly, but the fact that you're around gnomes is definitely helping this memory. And all of this is going on in your head at the same time. It's a very fun time to be Arissa.
Gotta sit down.
Oh, I think this is the best gif ever. Is that Ted? Just, there's so much porn! Meanwhile, on the balcony, Kess, can you do me a perception check?
I need to find my dice.
That's alright. While you just type when you get it, that's fine. Arissa, yep, you have no problems imagining this. I will leave it entirely up to you whether it's pleasant or unpleasant. There are some confusing factors as well, obviously, with the other memory that you're not quite sure about. But yes, you're having no problems whatsoever imagining this, so it'll be entirely up to you what you think about that.
Let me see if I can find.
Arissa reaches for another glass of mead.
Your brother changes the tone completely for a moment and says, "So, Riss, are you gonna stay?"
Oh, and she kind of looks around to the rest of the party and kind of goes, well, we're kind of doing stuff. We're kind of in the middle of something. I don't know how long we can stay.
Well, where do you need to go? How long have we got? All right, Cass, I'll come back to you in a moment.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really sure. Because we were sent to the demonic realm and we got the thing we went to get. And now I don't know where we're going.
Well, if we've only got you a short time, I mean, and he turns to look at his betrothed, your prince, his parents, your parents, and the king and queen, and says, "Well, I said I wanted to wait until Riss was here, so do you think we could maybe push it up a bit? I mean, you really can't stay."
She's just kind of looking at her party, just like, guys.
Yeah, she's got nowhere else to be.
And since the rest of the party isn't here right now.
Oh, Indy's just smiling and go, well, I did offer to help with the issue of a celebrant.
That's true. She did offer to be the priest.
I mean, do you want to stay a couple days for the wedding? I wouldn't feel right if you weren't here.
She's gonna go over to her brother and give him a big hug.
He'll stand up and hug you back. And a room that's half full of gnomes, they are the tallest.
Yay!
Because being wed by a priestess of Urfel is not an issue at all. Why would it be?
Why would it be an issue?
It'll be fine. Just, invent the ceremony as you go along. It'll be fine.
It's fine. Married lasts until death, right? That's the point. You need a death goddess for it.
Tess, out on the balcony. As you're looking down at the cityscape, you notice a, for the want of a better word, shape that you recognise.
Oh,
Moving.
What kind of shape is it?
It is, as a direct quote, sexy. Definitely dead.
Definitely what?
Definitely dead. Apparently sexy.
My zombie!
Demonic. And it is moving slowly through the streets of this city. And
my zombie is loose!
Gnomes are... Some are scattering from it. Some are moving aside, confused. And you sort of...
I have to find and protect my little zombie.
You see it sort of moving down one particular street towards the centre of the city, and then it sort of gets lost in a big bustling crowd. There are thousands of gnomes. Obviously this is taller than most of the gnomes, but there are a lot of different streets and houses. There's bunting, there's kids sat on their parents' shoulders, and after a couple of minutes you do lose track of where the zombie has gone.
Okay. Well, Cass will be trying to follow it. I guess. So, which spells do I have? Okay. So, actually, I could try to use flying to go after it. So, if I used flying, would I be able to follow it without losing it?
You'd have to search for it again because it's gone sort of lost into the crowd. You could fly down to the last place you saw it and have a look for it.
Okay, but I can probably find it a bit easier if I'm flying.
Possibly.
Okay, let's do that. Do I still look like a human?
Yes, you haven't dropped that yet.
Okay, a human or half elf or something. Something that's vaguely like this place's thing. Okay, yeah. So then I would try to fly after it and find it.
Alrighty.
I have 10 minutes of flying, so let's hope that I can find it.
Cass, when you changed your shape, was that through a concentration spell as well? Because flying will need to be concentrated on.
Let me just double check because it's disguise self.
Because in which case you could probably fly, but you may look just like yourself again. Either way, you'll probably be the tallest of all the gnomes anyway, because it's mostly gnomes. So
yeah.
No, disguise
I'm not
self.
going to look like
You're right. Disguise self does not require concentration, so you'll be fine.
Yeah. Okay.
You've probably got about half an hour left on it as well, so you'd be able to fly while disguised.
Good. I mean, I have disguise self as a free spell from my thingy, so I can just recast it any time.
Yeah, you'll be cool. So, Cass, as you start to fly down, now bear in mind you are on the top balcony as you spot this, so you're going to have to fly down the palace walls essentially and down into the town, and 3 of the nearby guards spot you and you hear shouts of the gnomish guards. Hey, who goes there? What are you doing? What? And you see crossbows raised towards you in all directions. As far as they're aware, they have suddenly seen this large, tall shape start flying around the palace.
I'm a guest of the family, just looking for my lost friend.
Do a persuasion check, Cass.
Yeah. I mean, do I have to? Is it persuasion or is it deception?
I'd say persuasion. It's true enough that it would be persuasion.
Right. Okay. Okay. So let me just double check what.
Meanwhile, everybody who's still in the room, in the lounge, could you please do me a perception check each? To see if you hear all of this commotion going on outside.
Well, that D20 disappeared.
Okay, so that's going to be a 22 on persuasion.
Alrighty. The crossbows are loaded still, but they sort of lower them a little bit and they listen. Well, come down then! Ain't no one allowed to be flying around the palace. What are you doing? Get down here!
Oh, wait, didn't the prince fly earlier, Rosie? I remember the prince flying.
He flew in on a giant eagle, yes.
Yeah. Okay, so like, but you know, the prince was flying earlier, so I was thinking the airspace is a fair place to be going as a guest of the royal family.
Airspace dispute. In my notes now, forevermore. Are you riding a giant eagle? Have you brought food back from the hunt? If not, come on, get down.
These little squishlings are so annoying.
Everybody in the room, you have heard Tess shout from outside, and you've heard some guards shout from outside. The king and queen sort of look up. What on earth is that? You guys recognise the voice of
what's that scaly idiot done now?
So he's going to swear in Elvish and then storm out looking for Cass.
It's okay. Cass gets down. She doesn't want to be riddled with crossbows. But she's grumbling a lot.
Okay.
She's not happy.
Do you want to land back on the same balcony? Do you want to land on the balcony below where all the guards and the crossbows are?
Oh no. I'm going to land in the crowd where I last saw my zombie.
Okay.
Because they didn't tell me where to go, so I'm not going to go to them.
Okay, I love it. Gaz lands in the crowd. Okay.
And disappears in the crowd.
So those of you, two things. Those of you who have gone out onto the balcony, who has gone onto the balcony? Was that Indy?
Indy and Belgrath, I think.
Indy and Belgrath go onto balcony. Okay, you both did something. Yeah. So as you go onto the balcony, you hear Kess say grumbly, like, fine, fine, fine. And you see her flying form land in the crowd in the city. And being taller than all the gnomes she lands amongst, you can see her sort of move forward through the crowd. She's sort of moving away forwards with purpose. She's looking for something. But then she does again, like, get swallowed up by the groups of kids and banners and all these gnomes going about. But you've seen her go land in the city, and you can hear the guards putting their crossbows away and going flying round the palace, whatever next. Goodness sake.
Stupid rules.
Indy's just going to look across at Belgrath and go, you know her better than I do. Just how much of a problem is it that she's now loose in the city?
Well, in the entirety of the time I've known her, she has demonstrated nothing but a complete disregard, verging on contempt for any form of life that isn't her own. So I would say it's bad. It's
Well, I guess we better go fetch her.
Yep.
Aw, she's not a child.
Isn't she though, Kess? Isn't she though?
She's not. But, you know, by Dragonborn terms, she's not a child. She's totally an adult.
All right, sure. Okay, so Indian Belgrath, how would you like to go about finding Kess?
Look! I think she's like 16, or not.
Yeah, definitely not a child making silly childish mistakes. Definitely not.
Definitely not.
Next time they see you, they're going to put a bell on you.
she won't take to a bell.
Indy's going to glance at Belgrath and go, do you have any way of keeping track of...
Well, I mean, usually she looks like a big, scaly dragonborn, so she kind of sticks out in a...
But I'm not looking like that.
I know, that's kind of the problem. We've never needed a way of tracking you before. It's just, oh, where could Kess be? Oh, there she is. She's the one that looks like a dragonborn.
She keeps using disguise self all the time recently, so yeah.
Indy's going to frown and then just turn on a heel and start heading out of the palace.
Okay.
I shall follow.
Okay, you guys have to go down 2 flights of stairs, but you do get back into the main courtyard where you were. You do pass through the lounge to get back downstairs. Are you going to tell everyone else where you're going?
Indy's just going to go and mention it's like, our Dragonborn friend's gone walkabout. I'm just going to go try find her.
And I'm
They'll be
going
like,
to.
that's a Dragonborn.
Will this be a problem? The Queen inquires.
No, be fine. Caspian, could you come and give us a hand?
Oh, okay. And he flutters towards you with his little blue rucksack. Enna and Arissa, did you guys want to remain or did you want to join in the hunt for Kess?
Marissa's gonna say
Join in.
something.
Might as well.
Arissa hasn't seen a family in 2 years.
You don't need to go after Cass.
If you loved them, you'd remember what they look like.
Arissa throws a glass at Belgrath.
So Arissa, are you going to stay?
Yeah.
Okay. So Arissa stays in palace. Else will go hunt for Kess. Okay. Now, we haven't got too long left because I want everyone to be able to go to bed. So
Can you believe that Arissa whining hasn't seen her family in 2 years? I haven't seen my father. I haven't seen either of my parents in a long time.
Aren't they dead?
I mean, you did kill one of them.
I don't
You
see how
don't
that's
want to
the
see
truth.
them again.
I don't see how that's relevant.
Do you really want to see them again, the one that you killed?
Well, I mean, I pulled his eyes out before I killed him, so even if I did see him, he wouldn't be able to see me.
Ooh.
Indy can fix that.
I will jump you guys down so you get out of the palace and into the courtyard. Belgarath, and I'll do one for Ariel. Could you do a perception check, not persuasion, perception, as you're coming out of the courtyard and heading towards the gates into the city? Just Belgarath. Okay, 20 not now. Okay, between you and Ariel, who got an 18 total, you guys notice having, just as you walk past, you notice that the stable door is open and the zombie is no longer in there.
Oh, God, don't just let it loose. I thought they'd kill it or something.
Innie's gonna go kill what?
What, sorry?
Innie's gonna just ask, kill what?
A zombie.
I thought they'd dispose of that thing already.
Well, I thought that's what they were going to do too, but apparently all they did was open the door and let it wander off.
As you
Innie's
guys
just
are...
gonna go silent and then drop a very foul version of the Elvish word bollocks.
As you guys are approaching the gates, having this
Elgra,
conversation...
understanding Elvish, says, I agree. Now, we need to find out which way they went.
Indy just shrugs, follow the screams.
As you guys approach the gates, you notice they are currently open. The guards who were originally manning the posts are out front doing crowd control. The crowd has dispersed now that the prince has landed on the balcony. Seems this is what they were all waiting for, sort of cheer and cry and see all of this. They are all moving back into the city. And the gates are open because it seems different tradesmen are coming in bearing food and expensive wines. It looks as if there might be some sort of party that is going to occur. And the gates are open, and it looks as if they may have been open for several minutes as the stream of carriages bringing the various different items spans all the way from the gate up to the front doors where they are dropping things off. And you get the distinct impression that the zombie may have gone out of the stable and out of these doors and into the crowd.
Okay, I will grab one of the known...
One of the guards. Alright. Hi, whoa, there's no need to manhandle the guards. What can I do for you,
Oi,
sir?
shush, your noise, Stumpy. We're looking for a mouldy-looking bloke who came wandering through here.
It's not a bloke, just so
Could
you know.
you be more specific? Mouldy-looking bloke that...
Well, I
You
mean,
mean-
he's about so high, answers to the name of Sexy, and has bits of him falling off it.
It's a her, but I'm not there.
Oh, sorry.
Correct you.
I'm sorry, I wasn't keyed up onto the onto the sex of the corpse.
Do you actually say corpse to the guards?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh! Right. Funny story. So, we had just finished pushing the crowd back, and we were going to come in and decide what to do. You were also very generous with your offers, you see. We got paid about 3 different ways to do 3 different things, and we were going to make a decision. We were going to toss for it about whether we decapitated the thing or not, as per request, obviously, if you find self. We did have a counter offer, but it all sort of worked out a bit pointless in the end, because when we got to the thing, the stable door may or may not have been left unlatched on accident, and the front gate was obviously open when the people dispersed so that we could let all the carts in, and we figured, well, you did ask that it was not there upon your return, so we did as you asked. We're keeping the gold, thanks.
So you just let the zombie wander off?
Well,
Oh,
let
God.
is a very strong word. You see, we didn't see
Let's
it
hear
leave.
having the meaning of you allowed it to happen, you cretin, which is what you absolutely did.
Again, very strong use of words. That is unnecessary.
Very good city guards.
We merely did not notice its absence until it was too late.
Right, I'm gonna drop the guard down. Well,
He
Me
lands
and my
because
friend
he's about
here-
half as high as you. Doosh!
right. Well, me and my friend here, we're gonna go and try and fix your mistake. And when we get back, we'll be making a decision whether I roast you inside your armor or if I just let her do something to you instead. Okay? Okay.
Members of the city guard have a right to a professional working environment, and we will not stand for any violence, physical or otherwise. He sort of recites as you walk away.
Indy just sends him a death glare.
Okay. Can you two, three, got 1, 2, 3 of you, can you please do perception checks, to see if you can see Cass in the crowd, or the zombie?
Oh, do I need to do perception as well to try to find the zombie?
Yes. So all perceptions for everybody. You get a perception, and you get a perception. You all get a perception, except Belgarath, who was terrible.
And DM, Indy's looking for what she's after.
Okay. So, Belgarath, you're just quietly fuming to yourself and pushing your way through all these gnomes. Enna, you spot a very interesting leaf twirling around in the sky, and you follow it for a little while, and then you realise it's not a leaf at all, it's a butterfly. And then you think, I wonder how butterflies could live down here in such a cold, dark cave. And then you look around and realise, actually, it's not that cold and damp, it's actually quite pleasant. This might be quite a nice place for butterflies to stay after all. Oh yes, we're looking for Kess.
Whoops.
Kess, you think you see something tall right down the end of one of the streets, and you stay in pursuit of it. Again, it's taller than a lot of the gnomes,
but is it sexy?
Well, with a 12, I'm afraid you just can't quite tell at this distance. The hip movement is just not quite visible enough to notice. But you do follow in the direction of the tallest thing you see. And the voice of Indy, whose name is not Indy on here, so I'm tripping myself up on that one. Indy, with that, yes! You spot a gnome in a sort of dark cloak who looks like they may be connected to somebody who you would know, and therefore you could probably say the right thing to let them understand who you are and ask them for information.
Indy's going to walk directly up to them and remove her symbol of Urfel and hold it. And as soon as she gets close, she's going to hold that out so that they can see that the symbol hanging on the end of the chain.
The gnome nods and produces a ring with a symbol on it. It is not for Urfel, but it is of her cultists.
She smiles and then leans forward so that she's roughly on his level and goes, I'm looking for a zombie that just left from the palace. Do you know of anyone that would be able to point us in the right direction?
Thinks for a moment. Yeah. Think so. One moment. And he pulls something shiny out of his pocket, a long, thin strand of it, and he holds it in his hand, and you see him murmur something into his hand. And then he waits, and he holds up a finger and taps his foot on the floor. Give it a moment. Ah! And then he closes his eyes for a second, as though thinking. And then he opens his eyes again and nods. Uh-huh. Right, your zombie's heading down Main Street, going through the market, and is currently hand in hand with Knuckle.
Who's Knuckle?
Interesting chap. He runs a shop in town called Knuckles Nickels. I am typing this in chat. Knuckles knickknacks. By the sound of it, he's taken a fancy to your zombie friend and is probably taking him back to his shop to have an investigation of him.
Thank you for your information.
Rosie, it's a her. fairly sure it's a her.
They haven't noticed.
Okay, so what we're dealing with here is a potential necrophiliac.
No. This is a corpse stealer. It's stealing.
Yeah.
Sort of like
Why do you think they've stolen the corpse, Cass?
Cass is not there. That was.
Okay. Why do you think they've stolen the corpse, though? It's
I
not
was
for the
really
pleasure of
into
her
it.
conversation, I'll tell you that.
Aww. I mean, I think that's jumping to conclusions too easily. Maybe they just like her personality.
She's a corpse, she doesn't have a personality. I say, you know what, we can deal with this.
Oh, zombies have feelings as well.
The zombie liberation.
By definition, no, they don't.
No, that's not how it works. They're reanimated. Of
The
course
darkly
they have
cloaked
personality.
gnome nods at you, Indy, and sort of disappears away into the crowd of gnomes. So, looking for the centre of town, you can see down the street that you are currently on, there's a big sort of open market square in the middle. So, heading in that general direction, which seems to be where a lot of the other gnomes are going. So, going with the tide of gnomes, you guys are sort of essentially carried along down towards this marketplace. Kess, following the tall grey shape, you see it disappear into a door, into a building down one of the streets as you too come through the market. And as you follow the shape and you see the door close, you stand in front of a shop called Knackles Knickknacks. And through the grimy windows, you can see a gnome leading the zombie by the hand into the back room.
Oh no, someone's stealing
Called it.
my zombie. Cass is obviously going after them to rescue her zombie because.
Well, I mean, he'll probably be done with it in about 10 minutes.
Belgrade is not there.
Into...
So I can very well just ignore that comment.
Yes, of course you may. So, Cass, you enter the shop. The tinkle of a bell tinkles over the door, and you stand inside a shop. Within a few minutes, you guys will catch up as well. And, Cass, what are you going to do while you are in the shop?
Well, I'm trying to rescue my zombie, so I'm going after wherever they left.
Okay, so you're going to go and probably go through the back door.
Yeah, I'm rescuing my zombie, and you know, it's basically stealing. It's my property, right?
You need to give it a little name tag, property of Cass. Alright, you try the back door and it is locked. The door they've both gone through.
Oh.
Yeah, foiled again.
Okay. I'm not very good at picking locks, I think. So I guess I should transform into shadow form and enter that way.
Alrighty. As you stand and do that, the door tinkles again, and your companions walk into the shop just in time to see Kess turn into a shadow and morph her way sort of through the crack in this door.
Indy's just going to scowl and go up to the door and pull out some thieves' tools to start trying to crack in.
Okay. Alrighty. Can you do me a dexterity plus proficiency if you've got proficiency with your thieves' tools?
Yep. So that will be 16.
Okay. It's loud and it's noisy, and you do break one of your lockpick devices as you're going through. However, you do manage to unpick the lock, and eventually the door sort of swings open. I assume as you're doing so, you're probably going to hear some sort of raised voices inside, because, Kess, you sort of shadow form through the door. When you get to the side, there's like what looks like a big workshop that stretches back into the back half of this shop. It's like a sort of squashed little terrace. There's an upstairs. You saw the steps that were in the front half of the shop. This is like the back half bit. It's lit by loads and loads and loads and loads of candles. There's a huge big workbench. There's bits of paper pinned up everywhere. There's shelves overflowing with various different odds and ends in jars and bottles and crates and boxes and things. There's a huge trunk in the corner spilling over with tools, and there's like workbenches and belts and various different items crossed about the place. The zombie is currently sat on the edge of the workbench, and the gnome is tapping its knee with a tiny little hammer.
Okay, so I stay in shadow form and go, well, because for the intimidation effect, obviously. Well, little goblin or gnome, you have something that belongs to me. Should I roll intimidation? I think Cass is clearly trying to. Well, she's angry, but she is intimidating. Yes. Is it a gnome or? Is it a gnome or it's a gnome, not a goblin, right?
It's a gnome, not a goblin. I want to take your first answer of goblin though.
Okay. Oops. Okay, so that's 28 on intimidation.
28. Yeah.
Yes.
All right. The gnome promptly drops the hammer, which sort of flies and spins out and says, and looks around to see who has entered the room. And are you staying back in the shadows, or are you standing in full shadow form?
Oh, I think you cut out. I couldn't hear what you said.
Are you staying back in the shadows hiding, or are you standing out in your form?
I'm standing out enough that the gnome can see me.
Okay.
But, yeah. But, I'm like half in the shadows, half out. You know how edgelords work. You can't be fully out of the shadows, ever.
Okay. The gnome grabs a small pouch off a nearby shelf in desperation and flings it at you while shouting, "Who are you? Get out of my shop! Get!" Kess, can you do a dexterity save for me?
Oh, it wasn't intimidated. Okay.
He was a little bit, but he was also shocked.
Okay. Oh, sorry, I have to check my character sheet. It's my dexterity. I was not expecting a fight. Okay.
It's very
So
sweet. You went chasing after your zombie and weren't expecting a fight. It was very cute.
So that's a 9.
Okay. You notice that the fear takes a little while longer than you would have expected to reach the gnome's eyes, but after his initial reaction of flinging this thing at you, the eyes widen like saucers as it really fully takes in what seems to be standing before him. And into the table.
The little pouch should go through my body.
The pouch does fly through your body. You don't manage to duck out of the way of it. Possibly remembering that you don't actually have to. As it burst. In fact, you know what? Screw it. It went through you. So just as you open the door, Indy, you get hit in the face by a small pouch. It doesn't do you any damage, but you have to blink for about 30 seconds to get all of the sandy glitter out of your eyes. And, like, it obscures your vision for a good 30 seconds.
Anyone looking at Indy would just see glittery rage.
Okay. So, you guys have now entered through the room. You see the zombie sat perched on the edge of a workbench. The middle-aged gnome who has huge round spectacles on with little optical lenses on each side, which have like extra extendy ones out so he can look at things closely. Has backed himself against his own workbench and is staring at Kess's shadowy form in utter terror, having flung on impulse this small pouch of what looks like just glittery sand, essentially, that has hit you in the face, Indy. Done you no damage, but yeah, obscured your vision for a little moment. And yes, you guys walk in on this. I will call it here, but is there any final words or actions anyone would like to do in these last few seconds?
I think Casswell wants to call the zombie to herself because it's her zombie. It answers her, right? So she wants
Was
to call the
Belgrath
zombie
there
over.
to see Indy get smacked in the face?
Yes.
Then he's just gonna laugh.
Okay. Anything else anyone wants to do first?
Indy's probably still scrubbing stuff out of her eyes.
Okay. Alright. In which case, with Arissa having a potentially awkward, potentially lovely family reunion up in the palace, Cass calling the zombie over back to her, the gnome looking absolutely terrified, and Belgrath laughing his tits off, and Enna enjoying herself immensely, I imagine, at the chaos, and Indy with a face full of glitter, I will leave you all there for the evening. Would everybody like to shout Tatty Bear to the recording, and I'll turn it off so normal swearing can resume.
Tatty Bear.
Bye.